Cosmo had expected danger. He had expected monsters, soldiers, or magic woven into unfamiliar streets. But this world was stranger than that. It had homes without wards, lights without flame, and people who smiled while hiding questions behind their eyes. Then Kathrine froze. There was another cat inside. The house stood behind a dark wooden fence with tall windows, a red brick face, and a narrow path leading to the front door. To Cosmo, it looked peaceful, almost too peaceful. Jeanette, Gary, and Bruce climbed out of the van with the tired relief of people returning from a long journey. Cosmo took longer, wrestling with the strange door handle until it finally gave way. Kathrine hopped down after him, tail flicking, eyes sharp as she scanned the yard. A moment later, she sprang onto the fence rail and sat there proudly, as if judging this new kingdom from above. Then she went still. Another cat.
Hey gang, how was the camping trip? Amazing! Too bad you couldn't come. Work took priority. Hi there, I'm Anne. I assume you're staying in the extra room?
Only for a short time, until I can make other arrangements. I'm Cosmo.
For the briefest moment, Anne felt something shift. Not a sound, not a smell, not anything she could point to, just a sudden pressure behind her ribs, like the air had changed shape around him. Her gaze flicked from Cosmo to the ginger cat near the fence, and for reasons she could not explain, the tiny hairs on her arms rose. Then the feeling was gone. Anne smiled politely, but the unease stayed with her. Inside, the house smelled of melted cheese, herbs, and warm food. Anne, Gary, and Bruce drifted toward the kitchen, their laughter filling the hallway. Then a sleek black cat padded around the corner and rubbed against Jeanette's legs with a demanding meow. Jeanette laughed and scooped him up.
Ninja, did you miss me?
Ninja answered with another loud complaint. Cosmo looked back through the open doorway. Kathrine had not moved from the fence. Jeanette smiled.
Maybe you should bring your cat in. You wouldn't want her getting lost.
Cosmo hesitated. He had a feeling Kathrine was staying outside for a reason. A sharp yowl cut through the house. Ninja's ears perked. Outside, Kathrine paced along the fence rail, tail whipping behind her. The black cat's scent was everywhere now, and her feline instincts were pressing hard against her human mind. She hated it. Hated the loss of control, hated needing help, hated that Cosmo was the only familiar thing in this impossible world. Cosmo stepped outside. Easy, cat. She's helping us. Kathrine fixed him with a furious stare, then launched herself onto his shoulder. When he lifted a hand to comfort her, she hissed sharply. Cosmo withdrew his hand at once. All right, he murmured. Have it your way. Jeanette watched Kat cling tensely to Cosmo's shoulder, her tail flicking and her green eyes fixed on the open doorway.
Maybe we should take her somewhere quiet,
Jeanette said gently.
The spare room's empty. She can settle down in there, away from Ninja.
Cosmo glanced at Kathrine, feeling the tension in her small body. That might be best, he said. Kathrine gave a low, displeased sound, but she did not jump down. Jeanette gave a small, uncertain smile and stepped toward the house.
Come on, I'll show you where it is.
Cosmo followed her back inside, carrying Kathrine carefully on his shoulder as the warm light of the house swallowed the last of the dusk behind them. Jeanette led them to the spare room. It was bare, empty, and quiet. Hardly a proper refuge, but better than the hallway and far better than the yard. Kathrine sprang from Cosmo's shoulder and paced the floor, tail flicking in restless irritation. Jeanette glanced from Cosmo to the restless ginger cat and softened her voice.
I have some old blankets in the hall closet.
She said.
And I can bring a couple of bowls, too. Water, maybe some cat food.
Kathrine stopped pacing at the mention of food, though her expression remained deeply unimpressed. Cosmo gave her an apologetic look. That would help. Thank you. Jeanette stepped back toward the door.
I'll grab what I can.
When she left, the room fell quiet again. Cosmo watched Kathrine pace the edge of the bare floor, her tail flicking with each irritated turn. For what it's worth, he said gently, I know this is not how either of us expected the evening to go. Kathrine gave him a sharp look. Right, not helpful. A few minutes later, footsteps returned in the hall. Jeanette entered the room, carrying the blankets and 2 bowls strategically placed on top. Cosmo retrieved the bowls from Jeanette, one filled with water, the other with food that Kathrine regarded as a personal insult. She sniffed it once, then looked up at him with open accusation.
I know. It's not ideal.
Kathrine growls low in her throat. Jeanette left again and then returned, carrying a small plastic container of sand. Kathrine stared at it, then at Cosmo. Everything was wrong. Jeanette watches the two and then suggests that Cosmo join them in the kitchen, and he nods, give a look at Kathrine, who was glaring at him in annoyance. With a sigh, he follows Jeanette. At the kitchen table, Cosmo listened more than he spoke. The conversation moved from food to shows, from shows to movies, and then to something called Comic-Con. He understood only pieces of it. Costumes, characters, crowds, people pretending to be from other worlds. That, at least, he could use. When Bruce asked where he was from, Cosmo kept his answers vague. Australia, apparently, was far enough away to explain some of his confusion. Bruce didn't look convinced. Anne, however, seemed to notice whenever Cosmo became uneasy. More than once, she gently steered the conversation away before the questions became too sharp. Cosmo began to wonder if Anne's kindness was more than kindness. After dinner, Cosmo admitted that he was tired and decided to return to the spare room. Jeanette followed, carrying a folded canvas camping chair she had found for him. Once inside, she opened it near the wall and stepped back. Cosmo lowered himself into the chair, grateful for somewhere to sit. A moment later, Kathrine sprang lightly onto his lap and settled there.
It's not much. What are your plans in the morning?
Cosmo glanced down at Kathrine, who had settled on his lap despite her earlier mood.
I need clothing and money.
Then he remembered the pouch in his pocket. He poured several coins into his palm, gold and silver from a world that no longer existed beneath the same sky. Jeanette's eyes widened.
Is that real gold?
Cosmo smiled carefully.
I tried to be authentic.
Jeanette stared at the coins. For a costume, Cosmo carried far too many impossible things. Anne pushes the door open into the room, and Ninja slipped in before Anne could catch him. Kathrine's ears flattened, and she hissed from Cosmo's lap. Anne scooped Ninja up quickly.
Sorry, I didn't realize how fast he'd be.
Cosmo barely heard her. Now that Anne was closer, he could feel it clearly. Not much. Not the deep river of magic he knew from Laragath. This was faint, fragile, almost hidden. But it was there. Anne had power. And Cosmo did not think she knew it. When Anne and Jeanette finally left, Cosmo waited until their footsteps faded. Kathrine shifted back into her humanoid form and glared at him.
Have you thought about how we're getting back?
Cosmo looked toward the door.
I have ideas.
That is not reassuring.
Anne has power.
He said quietly.
Not much, but enough that I could sense it.
Kathrine's expression changed.
You're certain?
No. But I think she may be an empath. Maybe a healer. And if she has magic here, then it has to be coming from somewhere.
Have you sensed anything else?
Cosmo shook his head.
Only traces. My range is limited. You should probably shift back,
He said.
I doubt either of us would sleep otherwise.
Kathrine's cheeks flushed.
You are unbearable.
Frequently.
Anne passed the spare room and stopped. From behind the door, she thought she heard voices. Cosmo's voice, low and careful, and another voice with him. Anne frowned. Jeanette had already gone to her room. Gary and Bruce had left. There should have been no one else inside. For a long moment, Anne stood in the hallway, listening. Then the voices stopped. She told herself not to pry, but as she walked away, the strange hum she had felt earlier returned, faint, distant, and waiting. In a world without magic, Anne had felt something impossible. And by morning, she would not be the only one asking questions.
If you want to see where these roads lead, make sure to subscribe. There's more to this story than they were ever meant to uncover.